ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशितारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यः च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। करता I think this one will have prelude करता आज जो भी होगा करता हूँ मैं।
Yeah, sure. I look for one.
Yeah. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. and they had to have two children at least, two boys.
and one of them had to get lost in that crowd. So the one who is lost, he actually gets lost. And I am still not able to figure out how he ends up in a train. The train ends up in Bombay. And the one who stays with the mother grows up nicely, taken care of nicely, and he becomes a police officer. And the other one turns out to be a gangster because there was nobody to guide him. And the world is round. So at some point, they both meet. One is a gangster, one is a police officer, they don't know. And they are hell-bent on killing each other, they are fighting, they are pushing, they are punching. And then suddenly, one of them sees a mark on the wrist. Bhaiya! And suddenly now they start embracing each other. Earlier they were fighting. What happened now? Suddenly, where does that love come from? That comes from recognizing that they have a common father. Suddenly, all the enmity disappears. So, the Bible tells us the story of the prodigal son. And I'll explain how our scriptures are also talking about the same principle when it comes to Gita. What is the purpose of manifesting Gita in this world? Why is it important? So there is a son of a very wealthy father. He has many sons. And one of the sons, he decides to leave his father. And he says, I want to live my own life. I want to be independent of you. Give me my share of money. Give me my share of property. And the father tries to explain that here you are living so peacefully, you don't even have to worry about anything. You just live happily, comfortably. He said, no, I just want to live separate. Anyways, wherever there is love, there is freedom. Right? There is free will. Because you love your children, so you have to allow them to do what they want to do at some point. They're stubborn. Love makes you weak. So the son leaves with his share of money and property, and he has many friends. But eventually, gradually, he loses all the money, it's all spent, it's all gone. And gradually, one by one, all his friends also leave him. So he's suffering, he's on the streets, and one day one person comes to him. Oh, this person is hungry, let me give him some food. He gives him some food, he feels happy, and he leaves. But then he's back to square one. The problem is still there. Next day, who will take care? One day, one person comes and he does some puja, and do some rituals for you, he will get better. Whatever little money he had, he takes that also and does his puja and leaves. One day, one person comes and gives him some motivational talk. Don't worry, everything will be fine, be positive, this, that. And he feels good for some time, then he leaves. So one day one person comes, he doesn't have proper clothing, he gives him some clothing and then leaves. But one day, another person comes and he sees, this person actually, this boy belongs to a wealthy father, he's not supposed to be suffering. So let me reunite him with his father. He takes him by the hand, takes him home, reunites with his father, and then he lives happily. Does he need to worry about anything now? Now, who among these five do you think has done the best service to this boy? Which one? Which has actually given the permanent solution to his problem? Which one? Obviously the last one. So yes, there are different ways in which people try to uplift others, do welfare work, help others. Some people distribute medicines, food, clothing, shelter. So we have to understand that help is rendered at two levels. One is the level of body, and the other is the level of the soul. So what does the Gita teach then? So why the problem happened here? Because he wanted to live a mystical life, independent of his father. And the solution was reunion with his father, reunited. So similarly, our Vedic scriptures also teach us that all the problems that we face in life, no matter what we do, what is the ultimate goal? Goal is happiness. What stops us from becoming happy? Problems, small and big problems. And all the problems occur because of our defiance of our relationship with our real source, our real Father. As soon as we reconnect ourselves with Him, every problem which is the subset of this main problem gets solved. That means we become immune to the problems of this world. And therefore the Gita was spoken. Now, the Gita is also known as Yoga Shastra. Yoga means to connect, to link, to join, to reconnect with our source, with our Supreme Source, Supreme Father. And therefore Gita becomes very important. It's like that fifth person, reconnecting people. The scriptures explain, Srila Prabhupada used to explain that the greatest service is uplifting a person's consciousness to God consciousness. Service rendered at the level of soul. And why is that real service? Because that's what we are. The Gita teaches we are not these material bodies. We are spiritual beings, we are spirit souls, parts and parcels of God. Suppose I say this is my phone. Now what does it imply? It implies two things. That I am separate from the phone and I'm also the owner of the phone. So when we say my face, my hand, my head, my body, it implies that I am the owner of the body and I am separate from the body. So whether you try to understand logically, this is logic. Science, the presence of the soul has been verified medically, scientifically. So many cases of reincarnation thoroughly researched and verified from all parts of the world. Not by an Indian, or somebody from the USA only. And then we talk about scriptures. And we somehow tend to get distracted by the external designations. And Srila Prabhupada, that's what he used to say. We have this I, me and mine disease. I am a Hindu, I am a Sikh, I am a Christian, I am a Jew, I am an Indian, I am a Chinese, I am an American. All these are external designations, can change any moment. People are fighting in the name of religion. Next life their religion could be swapped. These are external designations. The body keeps changing, and our real identity is what Krishna establishes the first thing in the Gita, which is foundational. That we are all children of the same Father, belong to the same family. And that's our identity. So unless we know who we are, how would we know what we are supposed to do? Suppose all of you are here now, you come to the temple, and all of you lose your memory. You forget who you are, then what will happen? You just go out and you will enter any home. You will end up doing anything. Chaos. So the first thing that needs to be established, and which is the biggest crisis, called the identity crisis in the world. Because we don't know who we are, therefore these things are questioned. And what we are doing is questioned. Why should I go to temple? Why should I practice spiritual life? Why should I chant? Why should I study scriptures? Why should I remember and worship God? But if you understand this one principle, then everything else will make sense. And this is foundational. That I am a spiritual being, part and parcel of God. Therefore, spiritual life is my natural life. The more I live it, the more I'll be happy and rightly situated. So there is a big identity crisis which has led to so many problems in the world. On an individual level, collective level. So, just like once, one of the first Prime Ministers of India, he went to one mental hospital. And suddenly one person came running up to him. And he asked him, "Who are you?" It's like a big shocker for a Prime Minister to be asked like this. If somebody asks the Prime Minister in those countries, okay, who are you? His ego would be crushed to powder. But somehow he managed to control, because wherever the Prime Minister goes, there is media, other people, they think you have to behave yourself. So he said, I am the first Prime Minister of India. And this person was mentally unstable. He put his hand on his shoulder and said, don't worry, sab theek ho jayega, everything will be fine. And Prime Minister said, kya theek ho jayega? He said, मैं भी जब यहाँ पहले दिन आया था ऐसे ही सोचता था. I had the same feeling about myself when I came here the first day, when I became normal. So he is thinking he is unstable, but who is unstable? He is a person. So when I came to Krishna consciousness 2003-4 during my college days, so I used to listen to Prabhupada's lectures. And if you hear his lectures, almost every lecture he will speak about one principle. And at that time I used to wonder, if this is such a simple thing, why is he repeating it so much? And same thing, Krishna repeats it like 20 times in 20 verses when he starts speaking the Gita, 2.11 to 2.30, same thing. And Prabhupada used to say, we are not these bodies, we are spirit souls, spiritual beings, parts and parcels of God. And therefore you must serve Him if you want to be happy in life. And I was wondering, such a simple statement, and इसको इतना रिपीट करें तो बचपन से सुनते आ रहे हैं. हम शरीर नहीं आत्मा है. सुना है, right? But how many of us actually paid attention to this? We are not these bodies, we are spirit souls. इतना सुन लिया है. It's like a person's head is just hammered again and again. Initially he will feel it, but after some time it doesn't matter much. So this is such a powerful principle. Now I realize after so many years that actually this is the main principle which we need to understand. Then everything else will make sense. If I understand that yes, I am a spiritual being, one great philosopher from Europe, he said, we are not material beings on a spiritual journey. We are spiritual beings on a material journey. And body is constantly changing. We are living in a world which is constantly changing. And why do we experience problems? Why do we suffer? Because we have misidentification. We think we are the body. And everything in relation to this body is mine. And then there are attachments and aversions related to that. But what happens is, the nature of the soul, we are the soul, is it is eternal, full of knowledge, full of bliss. But when we try to, and we are therefore always pleasure seeking, we are always looking for happiness, pleasure, right? Is there anybody looking for distress? Bhagwan, kya itna sukh de rahe ho, thoda sa give me some distress also. Where does that come from? Why are we always pleasure seeking? Because that's our nature. If a South Indian comes to Boston and is looking for dosa, why? Well, that's where he's coming from. That's where he's hankering for it. Subconsciously also. If a Gujarati comes and looking for thepla, of course they don't have to look, they carry theplas. Any Gujaratis here? Yeah. How many theplas do you all carry when you come from India? 0. I know people who carry 200, at least. 200, 300 they will carry it. They'll have big bags of their snakes. Yeah. Actually funny thing happened. They have their typical lingo also, no? So I was in Chapati temple, I was going for a class and I was in the courtyard. I was walking very fast. Suddenly an old couple came from the other side and मुझे Maharaj, oh snake. I actually jumped 3-4 times. The snake? So then I realized they're looking for snacks. कहाँ मिलेगा? हमारा रेस्टोरेंट पता पूछ रहे थे वो लोग. मैंने कहा दोबारा मत मिलना आप लोग. So if a Gujarati is looking for his food, a Punjabi is looking for chola bhatura, paneer, a Sindhi is looking for samalu toop or whatever, why? Because that's where they're coming from, that's where they belong, that's their nature. So as spiritual beings, it's our birthright to be happy. But we are in the material world right now. And material world means it's made up of matter. And anything which is material or made up of matter will have a shelf life. Number one. And second, it is ever changing. So therefore, we who are looking for pleasure in matter, it is not permanent. Because matter is a temporary. So Krishna speaks in the Bhagavad Gita that the first thing that every individual human being needs to learn is the difference between the temporary and the permanent. Difference between the living and the dead. The body is temporary. We, the soul, are permanent. There is constant change happening and we are not used to change. We are eternal. So when we are trying to find happiness in something which is forever changing, how can we ever have permanent happiness? So if you want to experience that everlasting happiness, number one, we have to start looking for it in things which are of permanent nature. See, you can't find happiness in temporary things. Permanent happiness in temporary things. And secondly, if you want to experience real pleasure, we have to start looking for that happiness in things which are of similar nature. Things which are permanent and things which are of similar nature. So we are spiritual, so therefore spiritual things where we will find more happiness. There are 4 types of pleasures in this world. One is the physical pleasure, pleasures related to this body. And that can come by providing all the comforts to the body. Good food, good house. And then 10,000 times higher than that, it is explained. Now what we are looking for is not sukh. Sukh, we are looking for anand. There is a difference. So in Sanskrit there is various degrees by which you can describe emotions. And it's a beautiful language also. That even if you abuse someone, the person wouldn't even come to know Sanskrit. Like if you call somebody a donkey, he would be offended. You call somebody Gadha, he will be offended. You call him Vaishak Nandan. Kaisa laga? This is a Sanskrit name for Gadha. Vaishak Nandan. If you address somebody by this word, they will think, wow, thank you for this lovely name. They will send you like this heart or a smiley, nice emojis. So, physical pleasure, and 1,000 times higher than the physical pleasures is the emotional pleasure. That means where emotions are involved. And that means pleasure coming out of some relationships. Boy and a girl, husband, wife, children and parents. That kind of pleasure is higher than physical pleasures related to the body. People, to give priority to this pleasure, they are willing to let go of the physical comforts also. Like again, I remember the Bollywood movies का theme होता था ना, हमने घर छोड़ा है. So there was another theme where a boy falls in love with a girl and one of them had to be rich, the other one had to be poor. And then one of the families had to oppose. And then they run away. One of the, not the present ones, one of the royal family members of the British, long ago, he gave up his royal happiness because he fell in love with one of the widows in some other country. He was willing to give up his royal happiness because he was deriving greater pleasure in this emotional platform. So emotional pleasure is always 1,000 times higher than the physical pleasure. 10,000 times higher than the emotional pleasure is the intellectual pleasure, where people are even to let go of emotional pleasure. They become kind of sometimes emotionless. You might, some philosophers, musicians, authors, poets, they can be in their room for days without shaving their beard or without interacting with anybody. They're in their own world because they're getting some kick out of it. So that's 10,000 times higher is described. So 1,000 times higher than the physical pleasure is the emotional pleasure. 10,000 times higher than emotional is intellectual. And it is explained that intellectual pleasure is like a drop. Then spiritual pleasure is like an ocean. How many drops in an ocean? Unlimited, countless. So this is the principle we are talking about. This needs to be understood, repeated, contemplated, revised, revisited. That we are spiritual beings, and that is our natural environment. And as soon as we are disconnected from our natural environment, it's like fish disconnected from water, there will be restlessness in life. Even small things will cause havoc in our life. And every faith in the world agrees on this principle. That our problems begin when we try to live a life disconnected from our Supreme Source, disconnected from God. And the more we stay connected, the more we be satisfied, happy. So happiness, pleasure in life is not really dependent on acquisitions or accomplishments. George Harrison, one of the most popular singers in the world, musician, at the age of 17, he was world famous. Wherever he would go, people would just die to have a glimpse of him. And but he was also very saintly, inquisitive, curious. Eventually, of course, he got deeply connected to Prabhupada. And he came to India once. So he saw one sadhu, a saint, walking on the street. And George Harrison commented, he said, I want to be like him. Now why would a person like George Harrison want to be somebody like a person walking on the street who apparently has no following, no money, no house? Because he saw that despite having so much following and wealth and money and influence and power and fame, there was something this other person had which he didn't have. He didn't have. It's okay, it's okay. Let the flow just continue. You with it. So this goes to show. Now, is there any dearth of wealth and influence and enjoyment in countries like United States? People come to enjoy life. They look up to the United States. But why is it when a survey is done, 81% people said that they have some mental illness. Only 19% said that they are happy with their mental health. Why? More than 1 million people are committing suicide every year. This is just the reported number. And this number is greater than the number of people being killed in terrorist attacks, murderous crimes, and wars combined together. That means the number of people killing themselves is greater than the number of people being killed by others. Still nobody is paying attention. I mean, you all know there are bigger problems that the generation today is facing. Why? In 1965, we had the hippie revolution in this country. And that's the time when Srila Prabhupada came. And these were children coming from affluent families. They were looking for some pleasure, higher experience. And therefore, drugs came into picture. So they would feel some kind of ascension to a higher platform, they thought due to drugs. But then after the effect subsided, it would come down. So they wanted to stay high forever. They were looking for something like that. Because even this didn't give them so much pleasure. Wealth, though it was gone, they didn't get any pleasure out of it. Now they tried drugs. So that's when Srila Prabhupada came. And he understood what they are looking for. And saintly people, the scriptures understand why is the person actually suffering. So he capitalized on this principle that they are looking for. So he printed a pamphlet. And the title of the pamphlet he gave, Stay High Forever. And then below he wrote Bhagavad Gita classes, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 7 to 9, 26 Second Avenue. And that's how those people entered, gradually came. And what would he do to them? What we are doing today. And that's how they could just let go of all those other lower tastes of this world and became happy. Once Srila Prabhupada was asked by one reporter, Swamiji, can you show us some magic? Because every time people see somebody dressed up in orange clothes, I don't know here but in India at least, they will put their palm in front of you, when will I get married? When will my son get a job? Or they will just push you to put your hand on their head. So somebody asked Prabhupada, a reporter, he said, Swamiji, can you show us some magic? So Prabhupada said, my magic is I have turned hippies into happies. And many of those hippies today are big saints, leaders in ISKCON, traveling all over the world, preaching the same message. Why did that happen? Because Prabhupada simply reconnected them to their natural environment. And he always used to say, if you are a Christian, be a good Christian. Follow your path sincerely. If you are a Muslim, be a good Muslim. If you are a Hindu, be a... So I have simply come here to remind you, he said, about what you have forgotten. Become God conscious. And all the different faiths of the world unite on this principle. Who can deny it? So every faith is simply meant to bring us to our natural condition of life, which is we are spiritual beings, and therefore spiritual life is our natural life. The more we stay connected, to our spiritual environment, the more we will be happy and satisfied. And therefore, this is the greatest welfare work we can do to others and to our own selves as well. Somehow or the other, this will make them happy. And what could be a greater service than to put a smile on somebody's face? But then we should know how to do it. Not just like that person, the prodigal son story, giving some food, but what is the real problem? Who will feed him tomorrow? Giving him clothing? No. You take a person by the hand, reunite him with his father, the Supreme Father, automatically his problem is solved forever. So this is essentially the message of the Gita. And therefore Gita is known as Yoga Shastra. Whichever level we are at, from there we can try to connect. Everybody's platform they are on is different, capacity is different. But wherever we are, remember Gita is a book of choices, not impositions. It gives you various options. If you follow this option, follow this path, this is where you end up. If you do this, this is the result. And now it's your choice. So it's our foremost duty. If we want to be happy, if that is our goal. A person may say, but I have nothing to do with God. I'm not come here to do, I'm just, okay, that's alright. But don't you want to be happy? So for happiness, we try to connect. We stay connected to the source of happiness, to our real environment, natural environment. Take care of the body, but don't forget the soul aspect, the spiritual self, the real self. So therefore, when you feed yourself and you are spiritual, and food must be spiritual, then you'll be happy. It's not that I am feeling hungry and I call up one of you and I say, okay, can you eat something? I'm feeling very hungry. That won't satisfy my hunger. So simply trying to keep the body fit providing comforts for the body, won't satisfy us also. The food for the body is different, food for the soul is different. We are the soul. And this must be remembered again and again and again. That will help us stay inspired on this path. Okay, why should I go to temple this Sunday? I'm not feeling. That is your natural life. If you want to be happy, you have to stay connected. And as long as you are connected, you are safe. Hare Krishna. I have a lot to talk about, but I think 6 o'clock is Aarti. Any questions? Quickly I can answer if anybody has, or I'll be here even after the Aarti is here. So.
I have one question.
Yeah.
Prabhu, I see like many people who do degrees, like PhD in philosophy or religion, but I don't see them so happy. Could you give an example of intellectual happiness?
They are just being on the surface level. Like I give you an example. One of our devotees, he went to one of the famous universities. I forgot the name. And this person was the head of Eastern religion. And this devotee went to give us some books of Prabhupada. And this person is saying, supposed to be the head of the department in that university, I don't believe in all these things. Then why are you the head of this? That's my job. So if somebody stays on the surface level, doing it just for the sake of it, he's not actually experienced or applied. So theory is one, but unless we apply what we are hearing, we don't get realizations, we don't experience the real impact. Like I can show you this is a medicine for your pain. But that's not enough. Or you take it and keep it. That's also not enough. You have to eat it to experience the benefits. So happiness, yes. So second way I can answer your question is, one is this, because they are not practicing it. Unless we practice what we are hearing, because we don't experience the real benefits. They are not taking the medicine. And they are just doing it as a job. Secondly, nowhere it is mentioned that when we become devotees and we start following this genuine spiritual path, there will be no problems in life. In fact, that's a topic I wanted to discuss today. Less time. But what it does is, we will be immune to the effects. We will get less affected. Damage is minimized. We become immune. We are in a different zone when we practice genuine spiritual path, spirituality. Problems will be there, but we will be unaffected. Like it could be 40 degrees Celsius outside, but you are sitting in a great conditioned room at 20 degrees. The situation outside has not changed, but it's not affecting you now. That's what it does. So if you don't see people happy, that means they are not taking the medicine properly, or they are not taking the right medicine. Either they are not taking the right medicine, or if the medicine is right, they are not taking it. Either of the two. So everybody can say, I'm spiritual, but how much they are actually applying what they are hearing is a question. Right? We'll continue the discussion. I'm here. So after the art. Thank you. Hare Krishna. I have also got certain books which you all can please take away. So many questions are answered in that also. Hopefully that will distribute after this.